Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Beware the Board, a horror podcast where we watch a randomly selected horror movie every single week. I'm Bob.
And I'm Ben.
Hey, Ben.
Hello.
Don't sound excited, man. Don't get excited
Okay.
for the
I'll sound like this the whole time.
Nothing changed. You just sound the exact same.
Hi, how are you?
No, you kind of sound like GLaDOS a little bit. From
I was
Portal.
doing, you know the SpongeBob when he's normal?
Oh, yeah.
GLaDOS is more robotic.
It is, but it gave GLaDOS, you know?
I think I can do a good HAL 9000, but not a good
Really?
GLaDOS. GLaDOS has emotion to her.
that's fair.
But HAL 9000 is just like,
Monotone.
I'm sorry. I don't think you can do that, Dave.
I've still never seen that movie. I've heard it's so good.
2001 A Space Opera?
Yeah. Space Odyssey, not opera.
Yeah. I'm thinking of
Phantom
Star
of the
Wars
Opera.
and all that other stuff. Yeah, I was thinking about Phantom of the Opera. We'll bring that up later.
We'll
but
talk about that.
2001 A Space Odyssey. How do I describe that?
Well, because what? It's Stanley Kubrick, right?
It's a Kubrick film. And Kubrick's one of those directors where I think he does really good stuff, but admittedly a lot of his films can be very, very boring at times.
That's fair. That's like the one complaint I've heard about 2001: A Space Odyssey is like the first hour is like nothing. Nothing fucking happens.
Kind of the whole movie is like that.
Oh my god.
And so there's some really well written stuff. There's some really well shot stuff, but it's very much like full of itself, artsy fartsy kind of stuff.
Oh, but I love that kind of
But
stuff.
you like that stuff, but you know it's just one of those films where you're either really gonna like Kubrick all the time, or you're gonna be like, I like his stuff, but sometimes it's real boring.
I mean, we haven't seen like the most famous Stanley Kubrick horror movie on the podcast yet. We haven't watched The Shining.
Now, which is
We'll get there.
I think is probably my favorite by him because it's the most constantly going. But like, not a big spoiler, but 2001: A Space Odyssey starts with like 10 minutes of black screen,
Yeah, that's what
And
I've
just,
heard.
like-
It's like brutal.
a symphony going, which is wild.
Yeah.
Because I first saw it when I was like 10, and I was like,
Oh my god, that must be so boring as a 10-year-old.
it wasn't that, but like I was streaming it, and this was back 2010, because you know I'm at this point getting older, and what you have to remember is back then streaming was brand new,
Yeah.
and there were still a lot of issues with it. So I pulled it up, and I was like, is it broken? Like, am I getting the sound and no images?
Yeah, that's funny. Okay. I was laughing, Ben, because it was so funny to me that we started the podcast and immediately started on like a tangent about something and didn't even like talk about what we were here to do, what the show was, what was going on. We just started talking about bullshit
Are
immediately.
you sure I can get us on another tangent?
No.
We were on a whole
no,
tangent
no,
before
no,
we
no.
started.
No, I know we were. I know.
I'll bring it up.
No. Okay.
A long time ago we talked about it, but there's this musical I really like called Epic.
Yeah.
It's now completed.
It's out. All of it is
which
out.
is so great. If you haven't listened to it, listen to it. That's my recommendation, and I'm putting that out there because Bob, he finally listened to it.
Yeah. So like I finally caved. You sent me some of the animatics, and I was hanging out with a girlfriend and I showed them to her and she was like, "Oh, I really like this. Like we should listen to it together."
Oh, did you listen to it with her?
So what we did was we started like a Spotify jam, and we were both like I was at my house, she was at her house. We both like I put it on and just put it not on shuffle, and then we put all the songs in order and listened to them like that while we were on FaceTime hanging out.
How'd she like it, by the way?
She really liked it. She thought it was really good.
really good.
And so that's how it happened. I listened to it one time with her while we were on FaceTime just talking. And then I listened to it a second time by myself, which doesn't sound like a lot, but it is like 2.5 hours long.
Mm-hmm. It's a good 2.5 hours.
It's a long listen, but it's really, really, really good. Ben didn't explain it, but basically it is
retelling of the Odyssey.
yeah, it's a modern adaptation of the Odyssey that is a musical. And it's really good.
Yeah.
Highly recommend it. Now, before we get to the horror movie, and the podcast part of the podcast, do you have any news, Ben?
Well, we brought up the Phantom of the Opera already, so
Yeah,
I'll
true.
mention this. There's a lot of adaptations of Phantom of the Opera.
So many.
I own like 5 or 6 of them.
I've not seen a single one.
Yes. They're all a lot of fun. And, it's one of those really big, culturally significant pieces of media. And it shouldn't be shocking that it's getting another version. And this one is French, which is kind of cool.
Oh, that is cool.
It is a French story. I'm not sure if they're actually going to be filming at the actual opera house that it's set at, but I hope so. It'll be cool to see.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've never seen a Phantom of the Opera adaptation, which is weird because I love musical theater and just theater in general. So I feel like that's something I should have seen by now.
See, that's a misunderstanding. So there's a musical of Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of.
But most of the adaptations aren't musicals.
Really?
However, this story features music heavily because it's set around an opera house.
Okay. Anyway, it's still.
I mean, the first one's a silent film.
Oh, yeah. That's fair. I hadn't thought about it like that. I have a piece of news that is very exciting because we talked about it last week, which is really funny. My girlfriend and I sat down and we watched Frozen by Adam Green. It's the same guy that did Hatchet and some other horror movies. He is making a new movie. It's not Hatchet 5, even though I want it to be Hatchet 5. That'll come out eventually.
Keep telling yourself that, bud.
I will keep telling myself that for as long as I possibly can because I'm holding out faith, Ben, because I believe in him, okay?
You know, I just want to find a fourth twin.
That would be awesome because he's alive at the end of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
He made it, but we should get another one.
Mm-hmm.
This film is essentially, from what I can tell, a shark attack movie being directed by Adam Green. Deadline details, the picture follows a group of friends who arrive in Europe for a glamorous but daring destination wedding. The fun and games turn into a nightmare when they find themselves precariously suspended above shark-infested waters in a battle for survival. Kind of reminds me of that one movie where they're like stuck on the buoy or whatever. You know what I'm talking about? The like ocean movie where they're like...
I mean, there's a bunch. There's like 47 meters down.
I think that might be what I'm thinking of. No,
That's
because
the one
she's
where
stuck in
they're
a
in
shark
a cage.
No, I'm thinking of one where like they're on like a floating thing.
Isn't
and
it like the reef or something?
It's something like that. But it sounds kind of similar.
I mean, it's Adam Green. It'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be cool. I'm excited about it.
We got a cast release for Anaconda.
We did
Which,
get an Anaconda, I guess, sequel?
It's a cast release, but it's a remake of Anaconda.
I wouldn't call it a remake because it takes place in the same universe as the original film.
Does it?
Yeah, that's the point of the movie. The point of the movie is that they watched Anaconda and were going out to recreate it because they thought it was funny.
No, it takes place in our universe.
Oh, is it our universe?
Because if they're remaking Anaconda, they saw the movie.
Well, no, because in the
Anaconda.
original Anaconda, they're making a movie.
They're making a documentary.
Are they remaking the documentary or trying to remake
I
Anaconda?
assume they're remaking the movie. Like, I assume it's a meta thing.
Probably.
Anyways, it's got Jack Black, and if you're interested, if you like Jack Black and like you like him as a singer, he sings the whole cast list, so that's
Yeah.
kind of fun.
There's a bunch of really famous people like slated for that movie.
Oh yeah, it could be good.
I hope it's good, but I don't think it will be. So, I don't know. It's one of those things where I have hope, but I'm not.
They're not high.
No, the bar is not very high. So, I'm hoping it'll be at least okay. Okay, next thing. Have you been seeing all these articles and stuff about The Monkey? The new Stephen King one? Yeah.
No, not really.
So, I have not really watched a ton about it. The big thing I've been doing is watching teasers from the trailer, but not the whole thing because I refuse to have the movie spoiled for me because I'm sure that the trailer will do that. But it looks really good. And from what I'm hearing online, all of the screen tests are going really well. And they're basically like, everyone's saying Stephen King is back for an adaptation perspective. But the big thing that I'm excited about is it's directed by the same dude that did Longlegs, Osgood Perkins. And that is exciting because I've heard Longlegs is incredible. Have you seen Longlegs? I don't know if we talked about it.
Not yet, I don't think.
I don't think either of us have watched it, but I've only heard good things, and I've seen clips from the trailers and stuff, and the monkey looks good.
That's
and I'm
good.
very excited about it.
Megan 2 got a trailer, but I
Oh,
heard
I don't
it
wanna talk about
spoils
that.
everything.
I told you that, yeah.
Yeah.
So Megan 2 put out a trailer, or not even a trailer, a like teaser post or something, and then the description on it, like the caption, is just a synopsis of the movie, essentially. Like, it literally tells you the plot points of the film, but doesn't tell you how it ends. They gotta stop that.
Favorite Hollywood trend?
It's awful.
Well, to be honest, I hate it, but it's because I think it's because so many people have like short attention spans nowadays, and they need to know like if they're gonna like a movie in its entirety before they go see it.
Stupid. I mean, like, it just makes me mad because we haven't seen Megan on the show.
No.
We haven't gotten to it. But I know the premise is killer, like, animatronic AI doll movie, right?
Yeah, essentially.
Going in, I would assume the second one would be the exact same thing. Do you know what the plot of the second movie is?
No, and I don't want you to tell me.
You don't want to know? You don't want me
No.
to tell the whole podcast?
No.
Because I know. Because I read the thing.
See, I haven't.
It's stupid, and if they had just left it a mystery, 100% would work out to be a better film, probably. Because, I'm going to be honest, it's kind of a plot twist. Why are you telling me that in the description of your teaser? I don't know. I was mauling, actually. Same thing with Scream, but that's a whole separate issue I don't want to talk about right now.
Bob does not like the Scream franchise or its fan base.
Okay, so, I don't want to say I don't like the Scream franchise. There's a lot of stuff that feels like they should keep it hidden, but then they use for PR marketing stuff that I feel like could potentially lessen the impact of a film series and franchise that is supposed to be like a mystery whodunit thing.
That's fair. And I mentioned the fan base for the same reason. Not
Because
that
they
Bob
love to
hates
just talk about
Scream fans, but
who Ghostface is.
yeah.
But I guess it's just particularly bad because I can't just sit down and watch all 7 Scream movies. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
We've only seen the first one.
Was Scream on our list for...
It is. It's on the
Okay.
list.
Anyways, you want to get to the podcast part of the podcast? We've been talking for a while now.
Or, we can keep ranting. Nah, we can move on. I don't have any more news.
Okay. So we're kind of getting to the end.
We are
of
approaching the end of the season.
the season. We have 2 spots left in Arnie,
Yeah.
1 spot left in Vampires, and 1 spot left in Clowns. Now, we did Clowns last week with
True.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Oh, so good. Such a good fun movie.
And for anyone who's listened to the podcast for a long time, assumedly you're probably going to choose Arnie today. But would you like to mix it up?
No, because I don't want to end on 2 Arnold Schwarzenegger films in a row or something crazy.
I mean, yeah, but you don't have to end that way.
No, but it's like, okay, so if we watch one this week and then we don't watch one next week, then we have basically my thing is I want to spread everything out as far like as evenly as possible so that like
I know, but you could do like Vampires Arnie, Arnie
Clowns?
Clowns, or Vampires Arnie, Clowns Arnie.
I don't want to end on Arnold. I want to end on Clown. or
Yeah,
not
but
Clowns,
you could
Vampires.
just do one and then double up on Arnie, and then
But I don't want to do that. 2 Arnold films in a row.
yeah, why not?
Brutal. Because, can I be honest, Ben? The Arnold films are not going to be very good, probably.
You're just dumb.
Oh my god!
You've made some incorrect assumptions.
Well, I assume Predator was probably going to be the only good one.
You're really dumb.
Oh my god, really?
Yeah.
Okay, well now I have to pick Arnold because I want to know what's in this category.
Okay.
What spots do I have left, Ben?
You have spots. Let me see. 1 and 3.
What's in spot number 3, Ben?
3?
Yeah.
Today we're watching a film from 1990.
Okay.
Little known piece. You might not have heard about it. Total Recall.
Oh, fuck yeah! I've heard this movie so good,
Oh, but I thought you thought there was only
but
bad movies.
I didn't think this was a horror movie.
It's kind of a horror movie.
That's why I didn't think about it.
It's a sci-fi film.
But what's crazy is when you first started this category, I even asked you about Total Recall. I said, is Arnold in that movie? Because I would have watched that. Because I've heard this movie's really good.
Yeah, there's some disturbing imagery in it. That's
Yeah.
kind of what gets it on here.
Mm-hmm. I've heard there's some, because like they're like fake people with like body horror shenanigans, right?
Other stuff you won't like.
Yeah. Damn. Okay.
Okay. What do you know about this film, by the way?
What I just said to you. Oh, it's like a sci-fi movie too.
That's it?
Yeah.
Okay. Description. Sometimes it's hard to remember the difference.
That's not good. That's so not good, bro. Okay.
For length, it's an hour and 53 minutes long.
Oh, it's long.
It's rated R.
Thank God. Thank fucking God.
IMDb gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Tomato meter score of 82%. An audience score of 79%. A meta score of 60%. And a user score of 8.1 out of 10.
I love when we watch a good movie on the podcast.
For awards, it has 7 wins and 16 nominations. 2 of those nominations are for Oscars.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So once again, I want to emphasize there will be no more good Arnie films from Bob.
Shut up. I thought we were exclusively horror movies, dog.
Nah, it's Arnie.
I mean, yeah.
Probably our biggest contender for ending on, I think, for strongest ending for the season.
Really?
Yeah.
I want a good vampire movie to end the season.
Notable actors in this movie. We have Arnold Schwarzenegger as Quaid. I think he's Dennis McQuaid is his full name. But he was Mr. Freeze and Batman and Robin. You might know
yeah.
him from that. We have Rachel Ticotin as Melina. She was Sandra in Falling Down. Sharon Stone as Lori. She played Catherine Trammell in Basic Instinct. Ronnie Cox as Cohagen. He played Dick Jones in RoboCop.
Oh,
As well as Drew in Deliverance.
we haven't seen Deliverance.
Yeah, but we've talked about it a lot.
We've talked about Deliverance quite a bit on the show.
Because I watched, what was it? Like its 50th anniversary? I
Yeah,
watched
yeah.
it.
Like it came out. They re-released it for like its 50th anniversary, I think. Yeah.
Plus, it's got John Voight in it.
It does have John Voight in it, who's also in Anaconda.
For his stupid face.
His stupid face.
Not that I hate John Voight.
No, nothing against John Voight. He just
I
made
like
a funny face.
John Voight, yeah. Michael Ironside as Richard, I don't know. It's got a CH and then a T.
Probably Richter.
Probably Richter. He was Gene Razczak in Starship Troopers.
I was about to say, I know the name. Michael Ironside's like really famous, isn't he?
Yeah. Plus, Starship Troopers is fun.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
bad.
Oh, it is bad, but it's fun.
Oh, I was gonna say it's a bad adaptation.
I,
What do you mean?
it's I don't know. It's just a little. It's just goofy.
It is, and it's objectively a horrendous adaptation.
Yeah.
Not that I hate it. I'm just that's what it is. Marshall Bell as George. He was General Owen in Starship Troopers. Another Starship Troopers actor. Always great to see. Michael Champion as Helm. He was Casey in Beverly Hills Cop. Mel Johnson Jr. as Benny. He was Broca from Star Trek Deep Space Nine. He was on 2 episodes in 1999. Roy Brocksmith as Dr. Edmar. He was Deputy James in Bill and Ted's Bogus Adventure. I think that's the sequel.
I haven't seen any of those movies.
I know. You're sad and disappointing. We've been over that a lot in this podcast.
Yeah.
And then we finally have Rosemary Dunsmore as Dr. Renetta Lowell. She was Professor Susan Duncan from Orphan Black. She was on 14 episodes between 2015 and 2017.
That's recent.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Did you watch Orphan Black? That sounds like a TV show you watched.
No, I never watched it.
Director is Paul Verhoeven. He also directed RoboCop, which
Oh, that makes sense.
you haven't seen.
I have, but
seen.
I've heard it's really good.
Yeah, it's also like it's kind of like this film too, where it's really dark but comedic.
Well, I've seen the opening to RoboCop when he like shoots that dude in the dick. You know what I'm talking about?
I mean, yeah, there's a ton of stuff like that. And by the way, if you're wondering why there's so many Starship Troopers actors in this, it's also because same director. Writers John Poville. He also wrote Star Trek: The Next Generation, specifically the episode "The Child" from season 2, episode 1.
I'm trying to think of what episode that is. I've seen so much of The Next Generation because my old roommate really loves The Next Generation.
Which one?
Evan.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and we would watch it together.
Anyways, Pavel has a story credit for this movie. Our next writer is Ronald Shusett. He worked on the story and screenplay for this film, and you might know him from, do you know?
No.
Alien.
Oh, that's cool.
And then we also have Dan O'Bannon.
That name is familiar.
He also did the story and screenplay for this, and he's known for
Return of the Living Dead?
and
Whoa, what was the other Dan O'Bannon thing that we've talked about?
I just said it.
Oh, it's Alien.
It's also Alien.
Yeah, I forgot that was the same guy. I'm gonna be honest.
And then our last one, who just has a screenplay credit, is Gary Goldman. So Big Trouble in Little China is what he's done.
Oh, I've heard that movie's really good.
So that's, I think, 4 different writers,
That's interesting that it's
which is a lot.
a good movie with that many writers.
Yep. Too many cooks is usually what happens.
Usually what happens, yeah.
Which good Adult Swim bit, by the way.
I've never seen it.
Budget's estimated at $65 million.
That is an insane amount of money.
If it makes you feel better, the box office was 261.
God damn.
Country of origin, United States. Tagline, get ready for the ride of your life.
Okay.
4 facts. I got a couple here because this is a very well documented movie. So, first thing you have to know right off the bat is that this is technically an adaptation,
It's a book, right?
sort of.
Okay.
So the film is based on a 1966 short story,
Oh, okay.
and that's entitled We Can Remember It For You Wholesale. That was written by Philip K. Dick.
I feel like that's a really famous author. I've heard that name before.
I mean, that's fair. He got a movie.
Ah, well, okay, yeah, sure.
Anyways, Shusett bought the rights to Dick's short story in 1974 and developed a script with O'Bannon. The script was considered promising, but at the same time, it was also really ambitious, and like how big of a story it was really kept the movie from being made for several years.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it looks like it was in development hell for about 16,
That's crazy,
where
dude.
it saw 40 script drafts, 7 different directors, and multiple actors cast as the main character, Quaid.
Holy shit.
Eventually, Total Recall entered the early stages of filming in 1987 under a guy we've seen before, De Laurentiis.
Oh my god. Not Dino De Laurentiis coming back.
Very specifically, De Laurentiis Entertainment Group, shortly before it went bankrupt.
Ah, nice.
Because it did go bankrupt. At that point, Schwarzenegger, who had long held an interest in the project, but had been previously dismissed as being the wrong actor choice,
Interesting.
was approached for the lead role, and he convinced Coralco Pictures to purchase the rights and develop the film with him as a star on an estimated 48 to 80 million budget.
That's really not that
making
bad.
it one of the most expensive films made in its time.
That's cool though.
But I think it's cool to see that like Arnie was passed over,
Mm-hmm.
but he was like, I want to do it so bad. I'm gonna convince someone else to buy the rights to it.
No, that's fucking sweet, honestly. I think it's just so crazy. You said this movie came out in 1990.
Yes.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space came out 2 years before this, had a $2 million budget, and this one's got like, a 40 times budget or whatever the fuck.
Well, Killer Clowns from Outer Space is a smaller movie.
So here's my thing though. This is like a big budget like sci-fi horror movie, right?
It's more sci-fi.
More sci-fi than horror. So there's a lot more like places for that money to go. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, sci-fi is expensive.
Because sci-fi as a genre is just super expensive because there's a lot of stuff you need to have for sets and everything. So I'm really curious how far they can stretch this insane amount of money into a movie that should be really, really expensive.
Oh, they stretch it pretty far.
Like, I'm really excited to see what kind of effects they can get a hold of, even for the 90s.
Like, let me put it this way. This is a very expensive film, and it shows, but you're also going to watch it and go, I can't believe they made this with just
Really?
$65 million. Because it's also the 90s, and a lot of stuff they do would be easier today, but
Yeah.
was very expensive back in the day. Because, again, this is also one of those things that it's weird to think about now, but this is a big sci-fi blockbuster, and those weren't super common back in the day. I mean, there was
Yeah.
Star Wars, but that's different. That's a space opera. But yeah, people really liked it. It was the 5th highest grossing film of 1990,
Hell yeah,
which
dude.
is pretty incredible. Filming for this movie took place on like huge expansive sets at Estudios Churubusco in Mexico over a period of 6 months. Principal photography beginning around April 1989 and over a period of 20 weeks. The film was shot almost entirely in sequence, which is really, really rare.
That is so cool.
Normally films do stuff out of order and stuff. I think the only film we've talked about on the podcast that shoots stuff, I think in sequence was, oh my God, I'm forgetting its name, the vampire movie. We saw them talk about it at the convention.
Fright Night?
Fright Night.
They did shoot that entirely
I think
in
they
sequence.
did shoot that in sequence because they did the whole play thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just kind of wild to hear about shooting stuff in
No,
sequence
that's crazy.
like that.
But also, like, that's such a short amount of time by today's standards to shoot a film. Like, that's a long time. 20 weeks?
Actually, that's a long time. Yeah, we shoot things much quicker now.
Yeah, I was going to say, what, a shoot is like a month maybe?
Yeah, I
Now?
assume they did that because destroying sets and stuff. So you kind of had to. With that being said, it was 20 weeks. And part of that was because filming was plagued by injuries and illness.
Yeah, okay.
Almost everyone involved in the set, like in shooting and stuff, suffered from some type of illness. Basically, everyone suffered from dust inhalation on set, food poisoning, and
Oh my God.
gastrointestinal from local Mexican cuisine was also a notable problem. Apparently, the only exception to this was Arnold Schwarzenegger, who had food brought in from the United States after having a really bad experience on Predator previously shot
That's
there.
hilarious.
He's like, I know what's going to happen.
He said never again.
I'm not going to shit myself again. But yeah, there was just a ton of just bad accidents because it's an involved movie and there's just a bunch of stuff going on. A good example of like an accident was Schwarzenegger cut his wrist while smashing a window when like an explosion designed to crack the glass failed. And this is on top of other things that were already wrong with him, like a broken finger he received while filming.
Oh
and
my God.
other minor injuries.
Bro was going through it.
Yeah, I mean that's what you hear a lot about with action movies.
Bro was going through it, but at least his tummy was okay.
At least his tummy was.
I can't
okay.
imagine slitting my wrist open on like a glass window and then just shitting my
Then
pants.
running to the bathroom.
Yeah, I'd be like, sounds horrible.
I could imagine you doing that though.
Yeah, for sure. It could happen.
Yeah, I mean, for actors who do their own stunts, it can get wild, especially back in the day. If you've ever seen any of the really old Jackie Chan movies, like Police Story,
I've not seen any of them. I don't
they
think.
have all the behind the scenes for when he films that. And
Oh,
it's,
that's cool.
it's mostly just him and the other stunt actors getting hurt.
Well, because, yeah, he does his own stunts, right?
Yeah, especially back then. Because they're really good. I should mention they filmed special effects. They were led by DreamQuest Images, and they include over 100 visual effects that would go on to win the film an Academy Award. So that's really cool.
Hell yeah.
That should tell you how good it looks. Apparently, this film had to receive edits due to the amount of violence it had,
Okay.
because it did originally risk getting an X rating.
That would be cool, though. I would love to see the X cut of this.
Yeah, I don't think it
I
exists.
was about to say, they probably didn't even release it.
But that's kind of cool to see. Score for this film was composed by Jerry Goldsmith and recorded in London with the National Philharmonic Orchestra, which is wild.
That's crazy.
Because both of those groups are very famous.
They're super duper famous.
Kind of the thing I want to end on here is a couple last little bits. First of all, there is a novelization of this film. It was written by Piers Anthony and based on the script, Andrick's original novel. So it was released in 1990.
That's really cool.
Kinda
Interesting that they would release a novelization after having it be based on a piece of existing material.
It was a short story.
Yeah, I'm sure the short story is a lot more vague and there's a lot less that happened. But I guess my point is like, why not just take the short story and expand on it and make your own novel that way? Why do it through the movie, you know?
Novelizations are popular, especially back in the 80s and 90s.
I guess that's fair.
And, you know, that's kind of like the first thing in a long sequence of other media that this movie's inspired. So there's comic books, video games. There's also a 1999 television series. And I believe that series is called Total Recall 2070. There was early attempts at a sequel based on Dick's other work. You might have heard about it. It was called The Minority Report.
I have heard about it.
And while the sequel to this movie never got made, they did make The Minority Report with some of the early kind of workings of this movie.
That's cool.
Well, this movie's sequel. And then, of course, there's the 2012 remake, also titled Total Recall.
I didn't know they made a remake of this.
But that was not as successful as this one.
Clearly, because didn't even know it happened.
Yeah.
I
But
didn't know it existed.
last thing I do want to mention is, like I said, this film's really, really big. And it's honestly considered by many to be one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's best films, but it's also often considered one of the best sci-fi films of all time.
Yeah, I mean, because when I think of really popular, famous sci-fi films that people love, my first thoughts are Star Wars, Total Recall, Blade Runner, and then like Alien and stuff. Those are like the big five for me. You know?
Fair enough.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah, I'm really excited about this one. I'm expecting it to be, you know, a sci-fi action movie, but
It'll be fun.
kind of worried about how gross it may be.
You'll be totally fine.
Yeah, okay. I don't fucking believe your ass. But we'll see you guys in a minute. Hi everybody, welcome back. We just finished watching Total Recall from the year 1990.
Good decade. Some of the best things have come
90s?
out of that decade.
It was okay.
Like me.
Okay, best at what though? Like what are you claiming to be the best of or like at?
I just said a lot of good things have come out of that decade. I'm not saying I'm the best.
You said some of the best. So are you not okay, I guess that's fair. Anyway,
Yeah, so what you think of it?
it's a really good movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It is really good.
Are you standing by your there's no good Arnold Schwarzenegger films?
No, because I said at the beginning that I thought that because I didn't know we were doing non-horror movies for this category.
I mean, it was kind of horrifying to you, though.
Okay, well, it is fair.
See?
A little horrific. There are some things that happened that I didn't like.
That's my justification for it.
No,
is-
totally fair.
I
I would
knew-
say it's 90, no, more than that. Less than that, I mean. Like 80% sci-fi, 10% horror.
What's
I
the
think
other
that's a good-
10%?
80% sci-fi, 20% horror. I didn't math right.
This time.
Yeah.
Okay, so you liked it?
Yeah, it was good.
Okay. Unless you have anything else to say here, I guess we'll do our usual spiel.
No, I kind of want to save it. There's a lot to talk about.
Okay. Then I'm going to give it a brief little rundown of what this movie is, and then we'll jump into actually talking about it. And, of course, there's spoilers there, so we always recommend you go watch the film before we spoil anything, because that's the best way to enjoy it, especially with a film like this. It's really, really good to go into blind.
100%. No, and I realized partway through that the things I said at the beginning that I thought were part of this movie are part of Blade Runner. That's the movie I was thinking of.
What'd you say about it? You just said sci-fi?
Like synthetic people and stuff. That's like Blade Runner, right?
I don't think you said that out loud. You must have just been thinking about it. But
I'm pretty sure I mentioned it, but
yeah, Blade Runner stuff.
yeah.
Or Alien.
I guess Alien could be, yeah, the other one.
Anyways, what this film is about, it's about this guy named Doug Quaid.
Hey, you got it right.
I keep wanting to call him McQuaid. I don't
know why.
Anyways, Doug Quaid, and he is a construction worker, and he's very, very buff.
He's huge.
And turns out he might be a secret agent man
Yeah.
on Mars. And it's kind of like about Doug getting wrapped up in all that and trying to remember what he might have forgotten and et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So if that sounds pretty cool, check it out. With that being said, we are actually going to get into spoilers now, so fair warning there. With that being said, anything you want to start us off with, Bob?
Okay. So I think we should start with kind of the
Actual premise of this?
yes, because it is exactly what you kind of just described, but it gets so out of hand so fast.
Yeah. So I think the best sequitur into that is what the name of this movie is.
Yeah.
So this film's called Total Recall, and that comes from two things. First of all, in universe, there's a facility called Recall, and what they do there are essentially fake vacations.
Mhm.
So you go to Recall and they implant memories of a vacation into your head, and you can have like your own designer experience. And that is what Quaid does as a construction worker. He goes there and he gets a spy experience set on Mars because he's been having dreams about Mars and stuff. And the second he goes under, we have a scene cut and it shows like him freaking out because they basically hit a memory. I think they call it a memory block.
I think it's a memory cap. Like there's already so many memories in his brain that they
I
can't
think it was
replace
a
anything.
block.
Yeah.
So they hit the memory block. They unblocked it, and it was like it essentially released all his spy memories because McQuaid was actually a secret agent, and he's having total recall. So like all the thoughts are coming back.
Mm-hmm.
And was there anything you wanted to say about that specifically, or I can continue?
No, we can keep going.
Okay, so that's kind of this whole setup for probably the biggest underlying theme of this movie, which is kind of this is this real or is this not kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Very much like Inception
100%.
in a sense, because it's constantly going back and forth between, okay, is Quaid really a secret agent who's from Mars and he's had his memory like really, really messed with, or is he in his mind at the recall facility having a I think
They call it schizoembolism.
schizoembolism, yeah. And one of the things the film does really great is it really rides that line so well.
100%. And that's something I wanted to talk about is that is what I think makes this movie so entertaining and interesting. Like, yeah, of course, it's entertaining and interesting because it's an action sci-fi movie. So there's lots of cool stuff to like look at and it's very visually appealing. But they do such a good job at towing the line, essentially, at making it feel like it's shot for shot, essentially like 50% it's real, 50% it's not. But the beginning of the film is so good at setting this up. Like the way that they open with Quaid having a dream about Mars and then his wife like waking up next to him and trying to convince him that it doesn't matter, you need to worry about it. And they just do a lot of really good early setup stuff to make it toe the line perfectly. Like there's just so much good setup in the beginning for it.
Yeah, I mean, the beginning's really good, and on rewatch you notice a bunch of stuff. Like, if you haven't figured it out, his wife in the beginning, in the later parts of the film, is revealed to not be his wife. It's like an implant. And so, like, some of her being, like, don't go to Mars or, like, suspicious about this other woman he keeps seeing in his dreams stands out on second rewatch. Like, it's, like, more in line with what you'd expect if the whole spy thing was real. But really the one I want to refer to for the whole is it or is it not real thing is just scattered throughout the movie. There's a ton of little things from like that happen in the spy sequence that are referred to at the recall facility.
Yeah.
Like they ask him like, do you want some alien stuff? Oh, blue skies on Mars.
Yep.
Or they design a woman for him.
Well, he designs it. He makes the choices.
He designs a woman, and it happens to be the woman he finds on Mars during the spy sequence. But at the same time, he was dreaming about her before.
So, and he crafted her with his like thoughts in mind.
And when we see her on the Total Recall screen, it's also when he's already like hallucinating. There's just a bunch of little things. And it's all great.
I think my favorite one by far is we're super far into the movie. So spoilers ahead. But essentially, Quaid has made it to Mars. He's escaped the people chasing him a lot. He's like killed a bunch of people. A bunch of stuff's happened. And he's staying in a hotel and someone knocks at the door and is like, hey, I'm a person from Recall, like implanted in your brain. Like you're still at the facility having a schizo freak out and none of this that's happening in here is real. And essentially, I'm going to give you this pill and it's going to bring you back to reality. And it's a little red pill, which I think, doesn't the Matrix do the same thing? The red and blue pills in the Matrix?
Red pill, blue pill, yeah.
Yeah.
Or as we know them, red hanky, yellow hanky.
Yes, of course. And it's this incredible sequence where Quaid is like faced with this dilemma of like, if I take the pill and I go back, and none of this is real, I have a loving wife at home in a real life. If it isn't real, and he's like, here, if I take this, I'm probably going to go live a fake life that I don't actually want to live. And, and basically losing the object of choice in this and is being constrained. And the way he decides what to do or not is he's like staring this doctor man down, and the man starts sweating like he's nervous. And so he doesn't take the pill and he shoots him because he, takes that as, the dude feels like he's in danger and like this is a real situation. I love that scene because you can interpret the way that Quaid does, or you can see it as, oh, this is Quaid making that up because that's what he wants to believe.
Yeah.
And then he shoots him and it's like, okay, well, now you don't have a choice. You're stuck in, whether this is a simulation or not, you're stuck here.
And I mean, not to spoil too much of the ending, but the ending's also open-ended.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, what if this is a dream? And then it fades
very
to
well could
white,
be.
like it's waking up from a dream or something.
And that is what I think makes this movie so good. Is
Yeah.
that whole, is it real, is it not? And the fact that, like, I care, but I don't really care. You know what I mean?
It doesn't matter because the movie's still good irregardless of
Yeah, true.
whether it's a dream or not. We still got to see something really cool.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, I think it's because it toes the line so well, it doesn't really matter.
Which is weird.
Just to ask you, do you think it's real or do you think it's a dream sequence?
I think it's a much better movie as a dream sequence.
Do you?
Yes. Because the movie is so dark and, like, fucked up. Like, 100%. And the darker ending, I think, is more on tone and works better.
That's fair. I mean, it's one of those things where I'm always like, it'd be really cool if all the spy stuff was real,
Yeah, it is cool.
but I doubt it.
I also doubt it.
I think it's more realistic that it is like a schizoid embolism or whatever.
Well,
it
because
is.
it's crazy. Like, there's a whole scene with the main villain is Mr. Cohagen. He's the owner of, like, the mining facility on Mars that has sort of been the impetus for this whole situation. And, like, there's a whole thing where Quaid's like, it's too perfect. Like, this situation is too perfect. Like, I must be, like, dreaming. Like, there's no way it's not, like, this is real. And he's like, you think it's perfect? Bro killed so many fucking people out there. He went on a rampage.
Yeah, it is a funny line.
It's just, it adds more depth to the is it real, is it not thing that doesn't need to be there. But the fact that the characters in universe are acting the way that Quaid would want them to act in a dream is so good.
And Quaid calls it out, and then they're like, no, we've been doing that on purpose. It took so much setup to do
This
things.
was pre-planned for years.
So yeah, all that's really, really great. Since we literally kind of just talked around it, I think we're going to spoil it here, so sorry. But there's kind of this double fake out thing.
Yeah, it's really good.
So the whole idea is that Quaid had his memory erased. He's originally Hauser because he basically worked for Cohagen, the main villain, the guy who rules Mars with an iron fist. And he ended up becoming sympathetic with the Resistance because he was dating this lady, Melina. But the double fake out is, of course, that Hausen faked joining the Resistance.
Yeah.
And then had himself purposely wiped to become Quaid.
Yeah.
So that Quaid, who's actually innocent, could be taken to the mutant boss.
Yeah, because something we haven't talked about is, and it's something that Cohagen talks about, there are mutants on Mars.
And
Which
they're
are
psychic.
They're psychic, which meant that, like, anytime he would send some kind of, like, secret guy to try and get in with the Resistance, the psychics would sniff them out immediately. But because Hauser had his memory wiped, he doesn't get sniffed out, and that's so fucking cool.
Yeah, I don't know. It's this whole weirdly convoluted thing, and in any other movie,
It wouldn't work.
It
It would
wouldn't
be
work.
too choppy. It would be too muddy, you know?
but again, it muddies the waters just
Just enough.
perfectly with the whole "is this real or is it not" thing to work really well. And again, it has that really great line of Cohagen's like, "You guys fucked up
So many
this
times.
plan we had, and we had to give you all these convenient circumstances just to get this to work."
Yeah.
And again, it's a great explanation for why everything seems dream perfect.
Yep. Which I think is exactly how you want a movie to be, right? Like, a movie should play out how you want it to play out, like, perfectly, because it does. It's great. Like, it's like 4D chess, It's like we're playing checkers and the movie is playing 4D chess, and it's awesome.
Yeah,
It's so cool.
It really is the thing that I think cements this as such a great sci-fi movie.
100%.
With that being said, I think we could talk about this all day, so we should probably move on to some
The rest
of
of
the other
it?
parts of this film.
Yeah.
You know, outside that main kind of plot and stuff, I think the next big thing that really stands out for me is the sets.
Oh, they're so fucking cool.
They are absolutely insane with how big they are. I mean, the film starts on Earth, and the Earth sets are wild because they're all mostly indoor,
Yeah.
and they're just really, really big.
They're cool.
There's one that basically looks like a train station, and they're running all around that. But the big one I want to point out is they go outside for a bit, and I assume it's shot at night, so it's actually outside. But there's like a whole fake, like futuristic street kind of thing going on with a bunch of street signs.
So cool.
They're driving cars around it. That's wild.
All of the cars, okay, first of all, we see a shit ton of them, but they all look insane like future tech.
They're like 90s cars, but futurized.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what they all look like?
Don't say it.
You brought it up.
Don't say it, dog.
They look like the Cybertruck.
They do, and I hate the Cybertruck. I think it looks stupid. But the cars in this movie look cool.
Oh, they're cooler than a Cybertruck.
100%.
Maybe Elon was just a big fan of these cars.
That's what I was thinking about the whole movie. I said, this looks like, Elon said, I like Total Recall. I'm going to make those cars into Cybertrucks.
That's fair. But for how cool the Earth scenes are, the much better version are all the stuff on Mars.
It's so cool.
It's so impressive. Not only because they have like these really great indoor sets that are more futuristic and almost like space station like, while being combined with like the rest of the futuristic architecture, but they have the most amazing outdoor sequences on Mars. There's some really, really great CG for like spaceships. They do such great composite shots of Mars. Like they'll have in the foreground people working on stuff in spacesuits, and then in the background you'll see trains moving and like these big shots of like the Mars bases and everything, and it just looks so impressive.
I mean, it's just so like grand and epic. You know what I mean?
I think that's the thing that really emphasizes for me how insane this film would have been to watch in 1990.
Yeah, we said it during the movie, but if I watched this in the year 1990, I'd probably think it was the greatest film of all time. Like, actually.
Yeah, and you know, it's not just those sets that look really impressive. It's all the effects.
Yeah.
And there's so many of them.
There's so much.
One of the really cool ones you see right away is there's like this whole X-ray tunnel.
Oh, it's so fucking cool.
And so when people walk through it, all you get to see is their like animated skeleton. And then for 1990, for animated skeletons that are moving and doing stuff, it looks insane. And there's also a bunch of weird like practical effects with all the mutants, but like people's faces exploding, or there's one head that kind of pulls apart like a robot.
Yeah.
Just tons and tons of stuff that's absolutely wild and looks really realistic, even on 4K, which is how we watched it. And, you know, usually you have close-ups in that high quality that make things not as real. But I thought it
I thought it all looked good.
still looked comparable to some modern stuff.
Yeah. No, I think the effects are what really throws this movie over the edge. Because, like, yes, the writing is good and the story is good, but it could so easily have felt like a cheap film if they had not gone all out on all the sets and effects and stuff like that. Like, all that has to look good to allow the story that you've written and created to actually function and take place effectively in the world.
Yeah, I can definitely see how this film, needed $65 million.
Absolutely 100%.
The fact that they only spent that much
Is nuts.
is nuts, because it easily could have gone way over that budget. But the big thing I want to get at is it makes complete sense why it took so long for this film to be made.
100%. I could not imagine the amount of time it took to build all those sets. There are entire, like, streets and blocks that it looks like they built for this set, like, for these sets. And they just blow them up, or crash cars through them, or break shit. And it's like, if you have to shoot them multiple times, that takes a while to fix.
So that is why they shot in order.
Yeah, that too.
But that's not even what I was talking about. I was talking about why this film was in development hell for so long.
Oh, yeah.
The amount of, I don't know, like, scenes in this movie, like, the sheer scale of it is wild.
It's insane.
Like, no one writes a film like this. It starts on Earth, it goes to Mars, and we're in, like, Mars colony stuff. Then we're in like the high rises of Mars. Then we're in like an alien temple. It just goes everywhere. And even a modern film doesn't have that many like drastic set changes.
Because it's expensive.
It's expensive, and all of them have to be custom made. They're not like, oh, we're just going outside and filming something on the street.
Yeah.
It's like, no, these are all very different sets.
That you have to trick out in crazy sci-fi technology all at the same time. Like, it is so densely packed with cool shit.
Yeah. So, really good job that Arnie got
It's
made.
awesome.
Which, again, good transition to. I think he does a good job as Quaid.
I think he does a fantastic job.
Mostly because with the whole is this real or is this fake thing, Quaid, who I guess his real name is Hauser if we're going by the whole spy narrative, is like the unkillable super spy.
Yeah.
People say it multiple times. And having Arnie play that character just makes sense.
It matches it's perfectly.
I know he probably wasn't originally considered for the role because maybe that's not how that character was originally written.
Mm-hmm.
But having Arnold Schwarzenegger, who's massive,
He's
in this movie,
gargantuan.
he's just all muscle, play like this Superman of a man is amazing.
It's so cool.
He does great. I think my only complaint with his performance, and I say complaint, I love it because I think it's so fucking funny. Arnie makes a bunch of Arnie noises in this movie.
He does. He's constantly getting like strapped down or choked out or fucked up, so he just constantly goes ah.
But it's really nice. And his physical performance in this is
It's
also
so
really great.
good.
There's so many stunt work and like action sequences, and
So much broken glass, so many explosions, so much just like jumping and like grabbing onto shit.
but the best part of like all that action stuff is some of the, I don't even want to say kills, although that is the right word, but some of the gore in this, I can totally get why this could have gotten an X rating.
100%.
You can tell they filmed a bunch of stuff and didn't put it in.
Yeah, it's almost like Dan O'Bannon's kind of a maniac.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like,
he's a fun guy.
100% of the scenes where people are getting mutilated or murdered in horrific ways, I'm sure Dan O'Bannon wrote most of them.
But all that looks good. Both choreography,
Yeah.
is like it's in fight sequences, but like Arnie shoves poles in people's neck and
It
stuff,
just kills them outright.
or you get to see bullet holes in people's head.
Mm-hmm.
It's just really, really good.
No, it toes the line of like the level of gore of a slasher without being like sadistic in any way.
Yeah, but it's way more than a traditional action film.
That's what I was gonna say. It overreaches action movie, which is actually really cool in my opinion. Like I think it works with it being a sci-fi movie because I think in a lot of cases sci-fi action can not lean hard enough into how horrific some sci-fi deaths may be, and I think that is part of what makes this movie. It raises the stakes in a lot of ways.
Yeah, and I think that comes down to the director, Verhoeven.
Mhm.
That's kind of just how he is in a lot of his films that I've seen, where they're sci-fi, and they're usually some other genre, like comedies like Starship Troopers, or like spy thriller like this one, or RoboCop's like
That's
a
just an
cop
action movie.
drama film.
Yeah.
But they're all like weirdly dark, and I think he just does it very well.
It's good. I like it. It's very refreshing.
Like RoboCop has a bunch of dark humor. Starship Troopers is a spoof
Yeah.
and also very dark. And I don't know. I think it really works.
It does. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very fun.
Outside of Arnie's performance, though, I think everyone does a good job.
Oh, 100%. I love the dude, not Cohagen, but his crony,
Richter?
Richter. Richter and his goon that he keeps are so good.
Yeah, Richter, because we see him the most, is basically probably the face of the bad guys. Since we haven't mentioned him, he's the guy who comes after Quaid to kill him first.
Yeah.
In part because he's technically actually married to Quaid's wife Implant,
Yeah.
and I think he's upset about it.
He's definitely mad about it. He's definitely mad he's been watching his wife have sex with this man for like weeks.
Yeah. And Richter's great. He's played by the guy from Starship Troopers, who, what's his name? I wrote it down. Gene Razak. I forget how to pronounce his name correctly, but he's the guy who's like, you know what to do, Rico.
Yeah.
He does a great job.
Phenomenal performance. It was really good. I thought he did a very good job at playing like a crony villain while also, because like he's not the boss, but he kind of is the boss, you know?
He's the boss of the goons.
Yeah, he was like a good middle ground between Cohagen and then the goons.
Yeah, I thought he was really good. Cohagen does a great job.
Oh, he's maniacally evil and it's good.
His plant wife did a good job.
She's very good. Melina, Quaid's love interest.
Melina, who we haven't mentioned, is the love interest for Quaid during the spy stuff. So the maybe she's real, maybe she's not girl. And she does really well with it.
Too. Oh, we haven't mentioned Benny. Benny's good. He's a cab driver that they meet.
Yep.
Very good performance from him.
And yeah, I think that's the thing. There's a bunch of like little background actors that we only see for a little bit.
But they're all good. Like Tony. Tony's cool.
Tony. Hey, Tony.
He doesn't sound like that. Don't put that in
He doesn't, but there is a character that does sound like this in this film.
Is a character that sounds like that, yeah.
Yeah, tons of little performances that are just, they go that extra step to really sell this universe.
Yeah.
Plenty of people like amongst the mutants and stuff like that.
They're all really good. I think they do a great job. The thing that this movie does that sticks out to me the most that we haven't really covered, I mean, we've slightly covered it when talking about the sets and stuff, but the level of sci-fi technology in this movie feels so interesting because it's like, it's what people in the year 1990 thought the future was going to be.
Yeah, it reminds me of cassette punk. So the same thing, I think that's the word for it, but it's the same thing Alien is, where it's like the 80s future, where it's like we're trying to make a realistic future, but because we only have access to our technology now, it's dated by today's standards.
But it's so cool.
And that's kind of what this is, where it's like a realistic future, but they had to base it on what they had at the time. And I'm sure that's what movies are going to be like from, the 2000s, the 2010s.
I mean, I'm sure, yeah.
That are made really well in, 30, 40 years.
But it's just so interesting because it's such a different
vibe than Alien.
Well, just vibe than any other sci-fi film I've seen recently. Like, it's just so cool.
Yeah, it's weirdly grounded, and a lot of it feels familiar. Like, all the calls are telecalls, so there's like a little screen, but because that was cool in the year 1990 because that was unheard of. But I mean, that's just video call.
Yeah.
On Earth, there's these things called Johnny Cabs.
Yeah.
Which is a cab that's driven by an AI, which again, it's kind of just like a Tesla Cybertruck.
Yeah.
Except it has an actual dude sitting there.
Yeah, that turns on and talks to you.
Which feels so 90s of like, okay, yeah, we can have an AI drive a car, but it needs an actual
thing
robot
in the car, yeah.
And yeah, just a ton of little stuff like that.
But like even the stuff like that looks so good. Like the Johnny Cab is so good. Like I love that shit.
I think that comes down to the fact that they made most of it. Almost all the stuff is practical effects there for like.
Yeah. But every single set is like filled with like tiny pieces of weird technology that like you wouldn't think about having today because we have stuff that's better. But in the 90s, that would have been the cool shit. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
That is what's so cool about this movie, is it's so steeped in sci-fi and sci-fi technology while also having this weird connection to like 80s and 70s tech that just it's such a cool like looking place.
That's fair. I was going to say my favorite one for that was just all the product placement in the background.
100%. It's so funny.
Because normally I'd hate it, but it makes it feel like it's
real.
Like in one scene, there's just Pepsi and Barks in a fridge.
Yeah.
Or
Jack in the Box.
There's a Jack in the... Although I think that was a... what are they called?
Like a brothel?
Yeah, brothel.
Maybe.
Not the
There's
actual
Coca-Cola
company,
signs.
but there's Coca-Cola stuff. There's a Fujifilm one, which is really, really funny because they're not around anymore, really. And yeah, it's just a little attention to detail stuff that I know they did for money, but it
works.
It really sells it.
It grounds a weird sci-fi film like this in reality, which when you combine that with the technology and the way it looks, it feels very realistic for a film that is insane.
Yeah, and it really comes down to, again, to good writing. Like, there's so much background information that's just
oh my God,
thrown away. Like, one of the sets is... What is it? Venus something?
Venusville?
Yeah, Venusville, which is one of the domes in Mars. And it's essentially this movie's equivalent to Skid Row from Little Shop of Horrors. But it's like the low-income stuff area where they have a bunch of brothels and stuff.
Yeah, and a bunch of mutants live there and whatnot.
And there's just so many little world-building stuff there. Like, first of all, mutants exist on Mars, which was caused by radiation. They're all psychic.
Cool.
Weird class disparity stuff. But there's also other little throw-in lines that are just wild. I mean, one of the ones that really sticks out to me is the whole reason this plot is going on is that Mars is exporting turbinium, I think it's called.
I think you got it right.
Which is some MacGuffin
Crazy metal.
mineral.
Yeah.
You know, it's like unobtainium
Exactly.
from Avatar. But apparently they're sending it to Earth so they can fight some war.
Fight a war that we don't know about? Yeah.
Probably against aliens. And it's just so wild and cool.
It's insane.
Because it's all background stuff that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But the fact that they include it makes everything more realistic. And I just love when films do stuff like that. It shows really good attention to detail and writing. And
Yeah.
It's usually just a really good sign to see.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that that's what makes this movie so good, is the attention to detail stuff and the small things. Also, there's a woman with 3 boobs. That's pretty cool.
Three Boob Lady is iconic.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, actually iconic. People know this movie for her.
Yeah, I get it. I was stunned. I didn't know it was coming.
That and some of the insane body horror effects.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that. This movie's a little rough if you don't like people stretching.
Or
I guess.
eye stuff.
Or eye stuff.
Or little homunculus guys.
I didn't want to bring him up, but yeah.
Yeah.
There's a guy with a guy coming out of his tummy. It's pretty gnarly.
Yeah, some of those effects
they look so good, though.
for the mutants look like they're out of the thing, which I love. So it's great,
cool.
But yeah,
It can be rough if you're not ready for it.
It can be rough. Like, this is more of a sci-fi movie, and I was kind of stretching it because, you know, I usually like to do that sometimes, and when we're covering like a director or an actor, I think I have the right to
Well, we
jump
watched,
out of the
we watched,
horror category. Some
We watched, what was it?
Slurposaurus,
Huh?
Slurposaurus,
Not even Slurposaurs. No. Whenever we covered Romero, we watched
Night Riders,
Night Riders, and that's not a horror
which is
movie.
great.
But that's a fantastic film.
And you know,
I think we reserve the right to watch good movies sometimes.
yeah, or bad movies.
Or bad movies. But that one's expected.
But what I'll say here is, I felt more justified with this movie because
Oh, 100%.
there's so much like insane imagery.
It's gross, honestly.
Like, I watched this when I was really little, and of course I was totally fine with it. But you know, Bob was like, "Oh no," during some of the stuff
It's rough.
because it is just pushing the line sometimes.
Yeah, we mentioned this during the film, but we both want to see the X-rated version of this.
Oh, there's a whole disc of special features. I haven't looked at it, but I assume it's some of that cutout stuff.
Oh, that's so cool.
Because you can very clearly tell the way they cut the film that they filmed all the gore,
Mm-hmm. They didn't include some of it
and then
because
they
they
just
definitely got
didn't
that
include a
hammer.
lot of it because it's over the top.
No, there's one scene in particular that I just have to see. It's the scene with the drill. I'll tell you that. I want to see that so bad because you could tell they cut that.
Someone gets drilled, and like you can see their head
Yeah,
and them screaming,
but you definitely know they filmed the body.
and
what
it's a
happened to
weird
it.
cut, you know. And then I think the score's really good. You don't really notice it, but that's exactly what you want from a good score,
Yeah,
right?
but see, I didn't really notice the score. It was good, but I don't think it was anything like. It didn't do anything in particular for me, but it was still good. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
But I think that's the point. It doesn't get in the way. It really supports the movie, but there's so much to the movie anyways that you don't want a score that's too much.
Yeah.
Because there's really no down moments here.
No.
So
there's always something happening.
There's no time to have like a main theme song going or anything like that.
No, yeah.
So I thought it worked really well with this movie.
I honestly didn't even notice any music until the end.
Right, which is, I think, the point. And that takes more skill than you think.
That's fair.
Do you have any complaints? If I'm going to be honest, this is one of those films where it's so good where I just look at it and go, okay, here's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, whatever of
Good.
good points.
Yeah.
I don't really think I have an issue with it.
I don't think I do either.
I think the only thing that I could nitpick at are maybe some of the cheesiness from Arnold.
No. I love that shit.
But I think that's a part of this movie and I love it. Or maybe some of the effects look dated, but again,
What can we do about that?
effects. They look great.
Yeah, that's my thing is like, that's my only complaint is like, I could get nitpicking at some of the effects and stuff, but for the year 1990, they're insane.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I will say, I get what you mean by Arnold's cheesiness, but I enjoy it so much.
Oh yeah, Arnie's always like a bit of a cheesy actor, but it works because once again it falls into the line of, okay, is this a dream and is he a super spy? Because before, when he's in like the quote unquote real world, Quaid's pretty level headed and normal.
Yeah. No, I think one of my favorite lines in the entire movie, it made me laugh so hard, but Ben did not find it funny at all. Quaid is being chased by his fake wife or whatever. And he shoots her in the head and says, "Consider this a divorce." And it's so fucking stupid, but it's so good. I
Yeah.
love that shit.
So no complaints?
Nah,
I don't really have any either.
I just enjoyed myself so much and thought it was so well made that I don't think I could reasonably complain about something.
The only thing I would want was that X-rated cut.
Yeah, me
I
too.
think if that existed, that'd be
Be sweet, yeah.
All right. Anything else then? Or you just want to go to
I think I'm good.
okay recommendations?
If you like Arnold, this is a great Arnie movie. I mean, it's on the same level as like Predator or something like that. Like
I think it's better than Predator.
I mean, me too, but
it's a very different movie.
very different movie. If you like the idea of like a weird mindfuck movie, like Inception, or there was the other movie Tenet that Christopher Nolan?
I think so. I haven't
think
seen
so.
it though.
I think they're both Christopher Nolan films, but it's in the same genre of like weird, like esoteric mind stuff, which I think is cool and tied to an action movie makes it awesome. If you like sci-fi, this is a crazy sci-fi movie. I really like it. I think it's coming up on one of my favorite sci-fi movies ever. Like it's just that good, and it's just so interesting. Like I can see myself rewatching this multiple times and getting more out of it every time. So if you want a movie with rewatch value, that's another recommendation. I think that's it.
Okay. Right off the bat, if you're a fan of anyone who's in this film, you mentioned Arnie, but like the director is Paul Verhoeven, and he does a bunch of stuff that also feels like this, like RoboCop. So if you're a fan of that and you haven't checked out this movie, what are you doing? But also like Dan O'Bannon, who did Alien and stuff, is also on here. So if you like any of them, this one really is worth checking out for that reason alone. If you like practical or special effects, especially classic ones, they're absolutely amazing. This thing looks better than End of Days, which we watched for New Year's, and that came out 10 years later.
Yeah, I was about to say the year 2000.
So really cool to see there. But I think my biggest recommendation is if you want a sci-fi film, but a sci-fi film that feels like a cassette punk thing like Alien or something, this is probably right up your alley. If
It's
you watch
so
Alien
cool.
and you're like, I love the aesthetic of this, I want more, check this movie
It
out.
feels like cyberpunk.
It's grounded sci-fi, and it's gritty and it's dirty, and I love it.
It's like cyberpunk, but with like less of an emphasis on
High-tech stuff.
high. Yeah, it's like low tech cyberpunk,
Mhm.
but it's so cool.
And there's also some weird fantasy thrown in
Yeah,
with
yeah.
psychics, but that sometimes happens.
I mean, there's shit like that, like Warhammer and stuff.
I mean, Star Wars has what? Space wizards?
Yeah, space wizards who use the Force. Exactly.
Vader and his stupid made-up religion.
We're not getting into this right now.
Anyways, rate it.
Well, I think you know what I want to give it, right?
And I know what you're going to give it.
Probably.
You didn't have any issues with it, Bob.
I know.
So, 5?
I know. I'm reveling in the fact that I'm about to say it, you know? I'm like, this feels good. I'm going to give it a 5. Movie deserves it. I mean, we've been talking about how much we like it so much the entire time. It deserves it wholeheartedly. I am really sad that it took me this long to watch this movie. It's so cool.
That's how you feel all the time, though. Because you're like,
Yeah, well-
I've never seen any movie.
Well, I've seen some movies.
Well, now.
Approximately almost 200.
But before the podcast, like
A
5 or
handful.
10.
Yeah. Some kids' movies.
Yeah. Also a 5 from me. It's great. I basically have no complaints with it.
No, it's just so good. Like, it's one of those films that we watch, and I in a similar vein to Killer Clowns, it's like, I don't know how much better a film like that could be with a plot and like a story designed in that way. Like, we haven't gotten to like any of those big twist mindfuck films. Like, we haven't done any of the M. Night movies, which have weird twists and turns and are like interesting. We haven't done Inception, which I don't think Inception's really a horror movie.
I mean, it depends on how you view all that stuff.
True. But it's just like,
Because Inception is horrifying.
oh, 100%, yeah.
Have you seen it?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I've heard.
I've
heard, yeah.
It's more horrifying than you think. It gets pretty fucked up.
But it's like, in the horror space, this is probably the best version of this kind of plot we're going to see.
Fair. I mean, it's regarded as one of the best sci-fi movies of all time.
And
a
for good reason. I 100% agree. It deserves it.
Now, what does this make about your feelings on the fact that there is a remake of this film from like 2012?
Horribly upset. Because it's definitely not going to be good. There's no way it could be compared to this at all.
It's not as good.
I think this is better than any movie that came out in the year 2012, probably.
Even 2012?
Oh, God, that movie's so bad. That movie is so bad.
I don't know. I'm sure there's some good stuff that came out that year.
Yeah, probably. But I'm just saying, like,
It's just really good.
yeah.
That's about it. Okay. That being said, I guess outtakes now.
Yeah.
Don't know what we have. As
I don't know.
always, we'll see.
Yeah.
But we'll see you in a second.
Yeah. See you guys in a minute. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the outtakes. Do we have any announcements, Ben?
Yes, we do.
Woo!
Sort of.
Oh, okay.
Sort of announcements. So today's Valentine's Day. So
Oh,
we
yeah, that's
also
so
released
true.
the Valentine's Day episode. I guess it's out right now.
If you're hearing this, it should be out.
So if you've listened to this first and not our Valentine's Day episode, go listen to
Go
that.
check it out. We watched Lisa Frankenstein for that.
How dare you spoil it?
Well, I was trying, I was doing the thing where you tell someone what the movie is to
I know.
entice them.
It was a joke. It's already revealed.
Oh,
We
you're right,
reveal
'cause
our
it's out.
movies.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the plan right now is to
Quit
record
stop putting the stuff into the universe. We can talk about it off the podcast.
the Army of Darkness right after this episode.
It's gonna happen.
So that's one down, and then we have two more. So hopefully
In the next
nothing bad will happen in the next 30 minutes so we can record it. Otherwise, I think there are only other big one is we're doing a
St. Patrick's
St.
Day.
Patrick's movie next
month.
We're not doing a President's Day one.
Well, you asked me if we should do President's Day, and I said we'd never done President's Day before, so why would we start now?
There's a couple fun ones we could do. Maybe next year.
Maybe.
Otherwise, usual spiel. Check us out wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, other podcast-specific streaming platforms. If you're looking us up on any of those, please give us a quick like or review. That really helps us out getting traction there. Really appreciate that. However, if you really want to help the podcast out, probably one of the best ways to do that is recommend us to a friend, recall this podcast and be like, yeah, it was just a great time. I had a good 2 weeks listening to all the episodes.
I don't know if we have enough content to fill. Do we have enough content to fill 2 weeks yet?
Not like literally listening to it 24 hours, but
You could definitely
like
take a
doing this
while.
in your free time. Oh yeah, it would take a long
100%.
time. I mean, if we say we have 180 episodes, that's 180 hours.
minimum, and some are longer than an hour.
Yep. Outside of that, though, you could also check us out on YouTube, which, while not the best for audio-only content, does support us a lot. We can see your likes and subscriptions and views, and we like that a lot. It's probably the thing that keeps us going the most. That and just we have fun.
Well, yeah,
But it's cool to see people engage with this dinky little thing we do.
100%.
That being said, YouTube does have a couple tools you might be interested in. Couple tools you might be interested in. There's a bell button which lets you get notified whenever we post something new. So in case something happens and we don't post a video for a while, or we're posting something that's not during our usual Friday schedule, that's a good way to know. But the big thing with YouTube is on our channel page, there's a little search button which lets you search key terms in all our videos. So in case you're looking for a movie to see if we've covered it, that's probably the easiest way to do that, because I'm sure it's a little bit easier than Spotify or Apple Podcasts trying to
100%.
search movie titles just for us and our podcast. Otherwise, thing to know about YouTube is it is one of the two major places to communicate with us at. You can do that in the comment section of a specific video if there's something you want to talk to us about in that episode, or you can go over to Twitter for now. We'll see how long we keep with Twitter at Beware the Board, and go talk to Bob. Tell him your secret plans and really plan out maybe your double Jeopardy or triple Jeopardy.
That was stupid.
It
It was a
stupid.
good
It was
one.
all pretty stupid.
Like Ben said, check us out on Twitter at Beware the Board. It's where we post updates about the show, information about the show. Basically, if there's anything you know about the show, it goes on our Twitter. On Mondays, I post a spoiler post for that week's worth of episodes, which is a hidden movie cover you can reveal, so you can watch the film before we do. So when you release the episode, you don't get any spoilers. We're being vague about stuff. You know what we're talking about. Then on Fridays, or whatever other day an episode goes live, I always post a link to the episode on Twitter. So if you ever miss an upload or want to look someone up, there's always a link there. Now, Ben mentioned that Twitter might not exist for much longer because it kind of is a horrible platform for most people right now.
Yeah, not that Twitter won't exist. It's
No, we might move away from Twitter because there are let's just say it's getting wild out there.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe I should pose this to you and to the audience. If there's a social media platform that you guys want us to be on and like post content, let us know.
That's not to say we won't keep up with Twitter.
No,
anymore.
we're going to probably, but it's like there are other spaces that would be more conducive to like what we want to do and what you all want to tell us.
The one we've talked about before is what? Is it Blue Sky? Is that
Well,
what
you've
it's
been
called?
talking about it, yeah.
Because
Blue Sky.
I've heard a lot about that, and as someone who's not on social media, that's a good sign.
True, yeah.
And also, we were just talking about this off the podcast, but we want to do more YouTube community stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So
Like community
maybe
posts and
having
stuff.
like our spoiler thing on there, or just other posts in general.
And I've been talking about maybe doing Instagram for a while because then we could post short form on there on top of having our short form be on TikTok and YouTube.
Theoretically, Bob could do Facebook.
I've thought about that.
He
but
doesn't
that
want
sounds
to, but-
horrible.
Just let us know, because if a bunch of you have a preference for something,
We'll do it because like we'll go wherever the audience wants us to, you know?
yep,
Because it's more for you than it is for us.
yeah.
100%. But last thing, we do short form content for the show sometimes over on TikTok at Beware the Board and on YouTube Shorts.
Once again, TikTok's in the same boat as Twitter,
Yep. Well, because I can't access it from my phone anymore.
but all the stuff's on YouTube.
Everything will always go to YouTube as well. Yes, I will never not put something on YouTube. That is our main place where our content goes. So if you like short form content and like the show, check us out.
There hasn't been anything new for a while.
No, but I did mention to Ben I want to do a Killer Clowns one because we just watched that, and I have some time off soon, so I'm gonna work on some short form. And my PC's fixed.
And also, once I think you get back into the habit of doing it,
It'll be faster.
you'll do more.
No, it took me so long to edit the Killer Clowns episode because I was so out of practice. I was like on my keyboard, like pressing the wrong button, like, oh no, please.
That's fair. Your
It was
computer was
horrendous.
dead for a month.
A whole month no editing, and you realize how much of like a trained skill that shit is.
Yeah.
But I think that's it, man.
All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week.
Yeah, we'll see you guys next time.